The village of Lathen is located in the northwest of Germany, within the district of Emsland. It looks like thousands of other small towns throughout the country. A few dozen houses well maintained, no litter in the streets, a church, a tiny cemetery, a kindergarten and a football pitch. Yet Lathen is different. It has got a secret. If you look closely, you can find traces of that secret. There is a stone next to the church commemorating the 75-year anniversary of the village. And right at the main street, a wooden board gives the year of the foundation, 1941. That is an odd year for a village to be founded. World War II was raging, with the German Reich in its epicenter. Even more puzzling is what you can find at the northern end of the main street. Two plain information boards show the map of not just one but of two villages. The one says Lathen as in 2016. The other one says Wahn as in 1939. How is that possible? Well, you have to go approximately 5 kilometers to the east to find the answer. Here, the main street cuts through a small forest. Next to the street is a stone of commemoration, erected in 1970. Wahn, unsere alte Heimat, it says, meaning something like Wahn, our old home. An explanation is put nearby. Translated to English, it would say, on these fields and meadows once was Wahn, a thriving community of Hümmling, homeland to generations of centuries. In 1942, the more than 1,000-year-old story of this unforgotten village ended, when the 1,007 inhabitants were rehoused, finding a new home place somewhere in German lands. The walls were leveled out, but Wahn lives as long as the people of Wahn live. We salute them with the call of the old church bell from 1730. I call all of you with my sound that pleases God. A few steps away you will find an old cemetery. It is in a pretty good state, regarding that the last person here was buried in 1942 according to a sign at the entrance. In total, between 1914 and 1942, 354 people were buried on the cemetery. However, the cemetery is pretty much everything what's left. On the other side of the street, underneath large trees, the remains of the former village could easily be missed. A few bricks, the outlines of the church, small cobblestone roads, and a monument for the soldiers of World War I. That is all what is left. But why was Wahn erased and at the same time a new village of the same name built just 5 kilometers further to the west? Why would anyone do this? Well, the answer is as simple as brutal. A bigger firing range was needed, or at least that's what influential people said, and Hitler decided, who himself had visited the range in 1936. If you look at a map from the early 20th century, you see that Wahn was well developed. The area was and is dominated by farming, so it made perfect sense that many farmers lived in the village and cultivated the land around. However, since the late 1870s, Wahn had to deal with a new neighbor, a shooting range installed by the company of Friedrich Krupp from Essen. Enthusiasm for military was huge during the Kaiserzeit. Despite the German Reich losing World War I, the Nazi regime decided to put enormous effort and means into the military sector in the 1930s. One of the decisions, to enlarge the shooting range next to Wahn. This was the ultimate judgment for the village. It had to be erased to give space to the military and its shooting range. 1,000 people had to find a new home. A new village was founded 5 kilometers to the east. It got the same name as the historic one. Wahn, with Lathen added at the beginning, as the new Wahn was now a minor part of a different municipality. By the way, a large number of the old inhabitants did not move to the new village of Wahn. They settled elsewhere. Well, it is part of the truth that the citizens previously struggled with the firing range next to their village. There were times of maneuvers when it was dangerous and forbidden to leave the village, a serious limitation for the people. However, I guess you can say that many would rather be restricted in this way as to leave their homes forever in the early 1940s. In 1967, several old inhabitants were asked by journalist Willy Rave if they would return if they got the opportunity, and most of them said yes instantly, but this never happened. What remained was the memory of Wahn. The former inhabitants and their families meet every year at the third Sunday of June in the center of the former village to collectively remember. A church service is held inside of the rest of the walls of the destroyed St. Antoniuskirche. It's not a wild theory, though, that these gatherings will soon end. There will be no one left alive who witnessed the old town. Even young children would be more than 85 years old by now, so it's the task of the descendants to keep the memory alive. And so far they did well. A lot of effort was put into making the place one of remembrance. There is a gazebo with a model of the old village that was finished in 2009. At several places you can find small signs showing old photographs of the vanished buildings with information about what happened to the people that used to live there. The remains of the church were pretty much invisible until they were recovered in 2010. However, visiting Old Wahn is also a bit frightening. Pretty new signs say that the area is still a firing range, and yet you have to be careful and may not pass at certain times. So watch your step. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave a like or a comment. Cheers.